Good morning. Welcome to Washington PTAC. Today's topic, we are going to talk about marketing strategies and tactics with a lot of resources and a lot of guidance and a lot of handouts and just a lot of stuff in general. I'd like to thank Kitsap, Economic Development Agency, for hosting this event this morning. And today we have James Davis from Kitsap and Terry Homburg from the Kitsap office also. James, if you'd like to say a quick word, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie, for putting on this training for us. We're excited to have you. If anybody does need follow-up assistance with our PTAC counselors, definitely give us a call. They've got, I think, a few decades between them of actual contracting experience. So please don't hesitate to call, reach out to myself, Terry, or Mary Jo Juarez.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, so Terry, why don't you give them a real quick overview about your background in PTAC?
Good morning. I retired December of 2018 as a federal contracting officer, all 29 years with the Department of Defense. I started as a PTAC counselor the day after I retired. And my experience as a federal contracting officer was with predominantly with service contracts, supply contracts, architect engineering and construction. And I held all the positions for the government-wide purchase card program, also known as, to you, MasterCard and Visa payments. So if you need help with that, I'm also well-versed in the new cybersecurity requirements for the Department of Defense. So if you have any issues with that, I can help you with that also. Good morning.
Thanks, Terry. Also, we have Andrew Miller here. He's from the Northwest Small Business Transportation Resource Center. Andrew, can you just give us a quick update as to what SBTRC is up to?
Well, SBTRC, if you don't know, is the DOT-funded branch of education and outreach similar to PTAC for procurement. And so the Department of Transportation does a lot of events, workshops, hosting, and training for bonding education programs, capital access workshops. And then occasionally we just participate in events like this and do our best to reach out to people that want to get into procurement with the DOT, but haven't quite gotten their I's dotted and their T's crossed. Coming up in January or February, we haven't solidified the date yet. We'll be hosting a BEP in Spokane to reach out to the Idaho area and the Eastern Washington side. And then a few weeks after that, we'll be doing one in Portland to work between Vancouver and Portland and reach out to Oregon and Western Washington. That's pretty much all we have for the updates at the moment, but there's always more things coming up down the road.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Okay, so let's just do a little round the table introduction. Jeannie Ryder was actually waiting anxiously when I fired up my Zoom this morning. So welcome, Jeannie. And if you're available, we'd like to hear a little bit about your company. Okay, so maybe she stepped away. How about Dr. Catherine? Are you available? Remember to unmute. All right, so how about Dr. Daniel Clark?
Good morning. It looks like Jeannie took herself off mute if she wants to go ahead.
Okay, so Jeannie, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about you and your company. So maybe there's a little audio problem there. You know, we can't hear anything, even though it says you're not muted.
I can go ahead then, ma'am.
Okay.
My name is Dan Clark, recently retired from the state. I've had a consulting and training business for 25 years. Now that I am retired, I have more time, and so I am looking for other opportunities.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. James Marzalek, is that right? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is James. I'm the founder of Operation Red Dot, based out of Tacoma, Washington, focused on Joint Base Lewis McChord and Bangor Navy Base here on the western side of the state. We're focused on purchase, sale, lease, and management of residential and commercial properties, as well as military relocation, real estate market research and consultation, and asset management and liquidation. We've been in business since about 2016, logged a little over 100 million in sales, and have a little over 55 million in assets under management on the property management side. We're brand new to government contracting, looking for our first subcontract so we can get some past performance and move on into priming eventually. So just wrapping our head around all of the craziness that exists in the government contracting world, and looking to get some points on the board. So thank you for hosting this class.
Well, thank you all for attending, and Dr. Catherine wants to chime in. We'll hold it for a second, but in the meantime, I'm going to share my screen and get this show on the road. All right, so all about marketing tactics and strategies. Everything you ever wanted to know or afraid to ask. Okay, so first, a quick overview of Washington PTAC. Washington PTAC was established in 1983 by Congress through the Defense Appropriations Bill. And we have PTAC offices all around the United States. And in Washington State, our main office is in Thurston Economic Development Center, and they manage all the sub-centers, and they're all over the state, from Idaho to Oregon, up north to Snohomish and down to Tri-Cities. So we cover a lot of space. In the US, there's 93 PTACs that have over 400 counselors, and our general staffing here in Washington State, we have 12 counselors, and it's a real bonus to us to have retired contracting officers on board. So, you know, if you have any in-depth questions, right out of Kitsap, we have Terry Holmberg and Mary Jo Juarez, if you wanted to talk to them. So for those of you that are new to Washington PTAC, we help you find bids. We help interpret solicitations, regulations, getting you through certifications and registrations. And today's topic is all about marketing to government, marketing to government buyers. And we do this through our workshops. We have one-on-one counseling. We do a lot of matchmaking events. And then we have an optional bid match, which is gives you a 30-day free trial, and then it's $165 a year after that. So let's talk about today's objectives. We are going to learn the 3 Ps: planning, position, and pursuing. So it's all about market research, identify your targets, how to get noticed in a positive way, and what is your relationship to the market that you're targeting. The last thing we're going to talk about is capability statements, and we're going to teach you about the different layers of the decision makers, particularly through the Department of Defense, and address mitigating risk and what you need to get noticed and mistakes that you need to avoid. Okay, so what works? Market research, business and financial plan. That is critical. too often we have these young startups that, are really excited about opening their company, and but they really have not developed a business plan or cash flow projections, any kind of a financial plan, or anything in regards to the market research. And it doesn't matter if it's government contracting or doing business in general. You have to know who it is and where they are and what they're buying. And it's critical to have good communication and relationship skills. Networking, it's all about who you know. And networking is by far the very best way to meet the buyers face to face. On Tuesday, we had a big event in Spokane, and David Waltz from NAVSEA out of Kitsap was actually in person in Spokane. And it was a great opportunity for everybody to meet with him and, just see what he has to, what he needs to buy, and how their company can actually fit into that. Looking at past performance and continuous marketing, you're always selling. It doesn't matter if you're welding or manufacturing or catering. It's always about marketing your business. And then lastly, be prepared and patient and persistent. And of the three of those, the being patient part is probably the one that will really test you when it comes to government contracting. Okay, moving forward. Okay, so we extracted some data on the impact of customer research based on the growth and profitability for small businesses. And you can see that if you do no research, your growth is minimal, 2.8%, and your profitability is 11%. And if you only do occasional research, you see how your growth has surpassed your profitability margin. And then if you stay on top of it and do it frequently, the numbers are amazing, as far as your growth and, your net profit. So, keep this little slide in tune. Okay, so it's all about being smart about what you're doing. And it's a brave new world now. And the government contractors, have some basic challenges. Number one is shortage of talent, your staffing, and the staffing on the other side. You may be, fully staffed and ready to go, but that particular federal office, maybe it's a Small Business Administration, and they only come in the office once a week. Everything else is via Zoom, and they're having difficulty hiring those that have retired. And then the competition is fierce in all levels of government. And now there's a lot of changes in the way that the buyers find the providers and procure the services. There's rising competition costs or compensation costs. So think about the cost of fuel. If you're a trucking company, or let's say that you are a heavy equipment supplier on the east side of the state, and you have to deliver to the Olympic Peninsula, you have to be aware of the compensation costs and then the price sensitivity. And actually, Terry Holmberg is our expert in regards to speaking about the pricing scenario. So you might want to jot down his name today, or just send him a quick chat to connect with him. And this last one, those who can navigate the system are often rewarded with lucrative long-term contracts and more stability than many corporate-facing businesses. Okay, the key word in that is can navigate the system. Any of you who have tried to get into government contracting, you know how arduous it is to get to the next step, be it from registration to certification, searching for opportunities. And that's where PTAC can come in and give you a hand. So what are the hot buttons? There's two words that you need to get under your belt. Contracting officers want to know if the contractor is responsive and responsible. So the bottom line on this, responsive means you know how to fill out all the paperwork on time and signed for the solicitation. And, it's everything from the time of day that you turn it in, and, the signature at the bottom. I worked a lot with the U.S. Forest Service, and they said the number one problem they had on the bid proposals was lack of signature. So what is a responsible vendor? Well, that means you have the capability / capacity to perform the requirements of the contract. That means you have the staffing, the financial resources, and the equipment resources to perform the job. So, keep that in mind. And they also look to see about if you've had any past performance with any agencies or the one that you're applying for. And what about proven capacity? Have you had any teaming partners or joint ventures? And have you investigated if, there's simplified acquisition procedures, commonly known as SAP? And what about the set-asides, disadvantaged business enterprises, service disabled veteran-owned small business, hub zone, economically disadvantaged women-owned small business, and realistically, is it state or federal? There's a lot of questions. So let's talk about identifying your targets. If you're just getting started, figure out one path to start with. And is it state or is it federal? And let's say it's state. And well, because rumor has it that their registration process is not so hard, certification might be, but maybe, you sell blue widgets and that the state uses them on every bridge they build, or every dam system in the state navigation area. So you have to figure out one path to start off with, and then you have to find your NAICS codes, the North American Industry Classification System code. And funny thing about the NAICS code, that's actually under the US Census Bureau, but the government speaks in NAICS codes. So if you're in construction, you have a code. If you're a general contractor, there's a code. If you're a plumber, there's another code. If you're a landscaper, that's a different code. If you're a consultant, that's a different code. So it's a matter of finding the right NAICS code for your company. And then, identify the appropriate programs. Does the agency have a strategic plan? Do they have a 5-year forecast that you can tap into? See the OMB watch list and try to get a grip as to how they buy things, where they're going. And when we were talking earlier, the gentleman from Red Dot, you're targeting Joint Base Lewis McChord, and there's a lot of resources for you down there. So PTAC can guide you on that and give you some good links to follow up with. Let's talk about research tools. There's a lot of subscription-based tools. Many of them are free. Washington Webs, which is the Washington State electronic bulletin system, MRSC, BidMatch, GovWin, BGov, Onvia, and Set Aside Alert. And these generally send you an update based on your subscription as to daily, weekly, or monthly on opportunities that arise based off of your NAICS codes and your keywords. Okay, so do not take the shotgun approach to marketing. Scale it down to start small and do your market research. One of the best resources that I recommend for small businesses, and these are micro businesses, 1 or 2 person entity, is to get a marketing intern from a local college. I know over on the east side of the state, the colleges here, some of them require internships before the students can graduate. And but tapping into the School of Business to the local college and drilling down to the marketing department will maybe get you some really good candidates. I would recommend a junior or senior level because there's a lot of heavy lifting that they're going to have to do to get you the information that you need. And then you need to create marketing materials for the government that meets their requirements. And maybe you're a graphic design company, in which case you might be able to do it yourself internally. But if you're a small construction company, you want to make sure that you get a professional looking product from them. And the marketing materials are going to the mandatory requirements can change from agency to agency. So again, Terry Holmberg is available to talk to you about what the Navy specifically wants on their capability statements. And then moving on, networking, in-person social media, trade shows, professional associations, that helps tremendously. But remember, just because you build it does not mean that they're going to come. So you have to have kind of a thick skin about things and just keep moving forward. So, all right. So in your marketing, you need to include the following. And I have to tell you guys, yesterday I did an update on this particular slide. Okay. You have to have a cage code, a UEI number, a UBI number, your NAICS codes, any certifications you have, past performance references, full contact information, credit card information, company background, capabilities of the firm, and key employees, and call it a capability statement. And we'll get into that a little bit deeper later. So the CAGE code and the UEI number can only come from sam.gov. And the UBI number is state of Washington, doing business in the state, you have a UBI number. NAICS codes are nationwide. And then the certifications, we'll talk about that a little bit more later also. But if you have been in business for a while, odds are you have a DUNS number. And well, Uncle Sam has decided that they're changing out of the DUNS number system, and they have the unique entity identification number, which is your UEI now. So if you have been registered with the federal government and you have an active status, it rolled over automatically with a UEI number. And if you haven't been in there for a while, you want to look at it and make a note of that. Okay, oops, go back one more. So there are differences between the state and the US federal government. Most states do not recognize federal certifications. If you are a veteran, if you are a federally certified veteran entity from the, okay, excuse me. Okay, so we just need to mute. Thanks. Anyway, the Veterans Administration has been certifying service disabled and veteran-owned small businesses, but they are now transitioning to the Small Business Administration. But any of the federal certifications does not make you automatically registered with the state of Washington as a veteran-owned business. Same thing with the minority. The federal 8A certification does not qualify you as a state of Washington minority business enterprise. Woman-owned, federal woman-owned small business or economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business does not qualify you as a state of Washington women business enterprise. HUBZone is federal, and that's historically underutilized business zone. And there's nothing similar to it in the state of Washington. However, the state governors have the authority to establish hub zones, which will encourage economic development in that depressed area. But the one thing that is different is the Washington State Department of Transportation and U.S. Department of Transportation do have some similarities. And this is where you would talk to Andrew Miller from SBTRC, who was online with us today. And so you can get some certifications at the state level that the feds do recognize. So keep that in mind. All right. So let's look at Washington State registrations and certifications. This is just a quick screenshot of, and this is old. I have an updated copy, but I didn't have time to look for it today. But, when the record started in 2003, what I want you to notice is the number of veteran-owned small businesses. There were none. And in 2014, there were 386. And actually, I think I pulled data in 20 or 21, and it was like up to 1,500 or something. So all of these have changed. And why is this important to be registered in the state with a certification? It all has to do with selling to state agencies and, colleges and water districts, school districts, cities, counties. And, everybody has been trying to develop an inclusion policy for small businesses. So the minority-owned, woman-owned, minority-owned small businesses. And actually, there's some now under the OMWBE that are not listed on this old one. They have a small disadvantaged business enterprise that you can also qualify for. So if you have questions on this, we can help you on that. And this is probably one of the most important pages that I can show you. This is the state of Washington Department of Enterprise Services vendor registration screenshot. And maybe you can't see it real good. I tried to stretch it as big as I could, but I wanted everything in there so that you had an idea of what they're asking for. So after you fill in name, address, federal tax ID, et cetera, when you hit next, what they're looking for are your commodity codes. Are you in construction? Are you a hairstylist? Do you do catering? Are you a plumber? Anyway, it's a very simple form. It costs nothing to register in there, except for a little bit of time. And then going to the Office of Minority and Women Business Enterprises, these are their certifications. And this is the only entity that charges you for the certification process. So if you're getting certified at the state level, it depends on your structure, if you're corporate, partnership or proprietor, and then federal. And these federal certifications down here are with the Department of Transportation. So, for DBE or ACDBE, that's a disadvantaged business enterprise, or the airport concessions, disadvantaged business enterprise. And then a small business enterprise is free. And then the update cost, and these may have changed, but I just wanted you to see that these are some old, the fact that they do have fees for these. Okay, so let's talk about the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs. Okay, so this kind of gives you a quick overview as to the rules and regulations. Excuse me. The service member has to own and control at least 51% of the business and be legally operating in the state of Washington. Now, that also means that if they are from Idaho or Oregon and they have a Washington license, that they can also be Washington DVA certified. And if you have a partnership and if it's a 50-50 split with one veteran, then you have to call them directly and get some additional help. So, and this is actually one of the easier certifications to get if you are a veteran. They need your DD-214 and your UBI, and they want your NAICS code. They want to know if you're service disabled vet or veteran-owned small business. And sometimes they might ask for some other documents. And after you register, they'll have a downloadable decal that you can put on your marketing materials. And let's talk about the service disabled veteran-owned small business. If you are former military and you have a letter from the VA of eligibility for disability. That's what you need to submit for the SD VOSB aspect of certifications. And even at the federal level, that letter of eligibility will be critical. And the thing is that it doesn't matter if you have 0% eligibility or 100% eligibility. They will accept the letter. Okay, so Washington State market research. All right, this is where all the links are coming in. If you are looking for public works, job order contracts, and actually on the JOCs, in Spokane on Tuesday, Burton Construction was there, and they have been the primary holder of the statewide JOC. And then they have kind of like a rolling entry on regions. So there's 4 other JOC contracts that kind of roll in every couple years and then roll out. But if you are looking to follow up on this, I gave you a link. And in the Washington Webs, which is a really simple application, they will email you automatically on whatever your commodities are. Like if you're a consultant, they will email you and let you know that through the Department of Enterprise Services, they're looking for mental health counselors or whatever it is. MRSC, this is like the best kept secret around for small businesses. MRSC has a roster system of all their participating agencies, and you can sign up for this for free. If you wanted to do the full subscription, I think it's $75 a year. And you can pick and choose, like if you're up and down I-5 corridor and you want Kitsap and Snohomish and King County and Pierce County, they will let you know of all the activities going on. Let's say you're a little landscaping company, and so you're going to see opportunities from sewer districts and water districts and just fire districts, everything you can imagine, libraries and PUDs and everything else. Anybody that's looking for like lawn mowing service or window washing service or janitorial service. So these are all local agencies and very small towns up through counties and up to and including some large agencies also. And if you wanted more information on procurement and contracts within the state of Washington, I gave you another link for their data link. Okay, so now let's talk about the Department of Transportation. The WashDOT projects, I have a couple links on here for you. And there's an interactive map that you can use. And if you find that any of these links are not operational, please let me know and I'll track them down and update this and update you. The Federal Highway Administration, and that's the US DOT, and then actually the first bullet under US DOT, the OSDBU Procurement Assistance Summary Forecast for 2022. And then you can export that data in a CSV format. And anything with WSDOT, the FHWA and USDOT, you can talk to Andrew Miller at SBTRC about that. And then the SBLO directory and forecasts. I know that our former PTACer out of Kitsap, Kathy Kokas, had used this as a resource. So hopefully there's some good information in there for you. Okay, so now let's talk about colleges and universities. University of Washington, WSU, Port of Seattle. I have a whole bunch of stuff on the Port of Seattle, but and then as far as, like if you're looking for Western Washington University or Evergreen State College or Eastern Washington University, everybody has like capital projects that they're working on. So and I can work with you to teach you how to find these things. And then lastly, again, all the Port of Seattle stuff. Okay, let's talk specifically about the Department of Enterprise Services. They provide, if you go on this link, it'll take you to vendor registration, goods and services, the bidding opportunities, construction and public works. And then they have other things like the energy program, leasing property to the state, vendor payment, et cetera, et cetera. So on the vendor registration side, you have to go through the Washington Electronic Business Solution. And these are actually hyperlinks. So if you go to the small works roster or you're an A&E, you can just click through this and it'll take you to see what all is needed in there. Goods and services, construction and facilities, and then learning about the bidding process from Department of Enterprise Services. And I have to tell you, I was really kind of excited at the Spokane event on Tuesday that Charles Wilson actually was there manning the booth for the Department of Enterprise Services. Charles is the top guy for the diversity program in the Department of Enterprise Services. And I know that they have an upcoming event. I'll have to dig it out here for you just a second. Anyway, if we can take a little break, I'll post that event for you. Or maybe Andrew, if you have one of those DES flyers, maybe you could post that on there.
I may. I'll have to look. I got a lot of flyers yesterday, so give me a minute. I might have one.
And I see that Daniel wanted to get a copy of these slides. So I posted that earlier in the chat. So Andrew, can you repost the slides back in here for them? Thank you. All right.
Will do.
So moving on. So on Department of Enterprise Services, construction and public works opportunities, again, all of these are hyperlinked. So you can, it's like one-stop shopping. All right. So now doing business with the state, learning about energy saving performance contracting. And then, this is more the minutia as to that summary that we had earlier. And all of these are hyperlinked for you also. All right, let's talk about the Port of Seattle. Washington PTAC just finished up a 7-week series of classes in partnership with the Port of Seattle and the Northwest Small Business Transportation Resource Center. And so I have a lot of data on the Port of Seattle. First they want you to register your business in their Vendor Connect. And you can sign up for all kinds of classes. And sometimes you'll see a PTAC there or a SBTRC partnering with them. Look at their future solicitations. And this is, they have a diversity and contracting team. And the main guy there is a gentleman by the name of, Mian Rice. And he is like the nicest guy. He came to the big networking event and it made quite an impression that he was there meeting with all the small businesses. So they have a disadvantaged business enterprise program. They have the Women and Minority Business Enterprise program, and then the DBE program, which is the one from the Department of Transportation. So again, clickable links. All right, let's move to the feds. Everybody's favorite. Maybe we'll take a little break and just check out the chat. And if there's any other questions on there, I see Andrew got the marketing strategies PDF uploaded again. And also, Dr. Catherine has the transcription service. Catherine, are you online?
Yes, I am. Sorry about earlier. I was listening, but unable to take the moment to unmute and so forth.
Okay, so can you just explain a little bit about what that is and how to retrieve it?
Absolutely. I habitually have otter.ai automatically transcribe my meetings. That makes it so that I am able to listen better and then revisit notes. It is not 100% accurate because it's a machine transcription, but it's pretty good. And then I'm able to go back and listen and make edits. I'm happy to make that shareable to anybody who is interested. You can do a share request through what my Otter usually flashes up saying, do you want copies of notes and so forth? That's an automatic thing. And I'm happy to share that. And that's basically what it is.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And I see that Andrew uploaded the Department of Enterprise Services flyer. Andrew, can you just give them a quick overview as to what's coming up? It's like November 17th.
Yeah, I didn't grab their entire bundle of marketing materials. I just grabbed the thing for the 17th.
Yeah.
And it's basically doing a workshop November 17th at GSI in Spokane. Greater Spokane Incorporated will be hosting it. And they're doing job order contracts, the small works roster, a WEBS training program, and OMWBE and VA certification, all in one big workshop. So I'm going to guess that's in conjunction with PTAC, and it sounds like Alicia probably set that up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you uploading those materials. Okay, so let's move forward. We're going to talk about federal market research. All right. So why do you want to sell to the government? Well, they're the world's biggest customer. They buy virtually everything. They spend over, well, 576 billion with a B in goods and services. And maybe Terry, do you have an update on that number? Is that pretty close?
Yes, when I started with PTAC in 2019, I found a source that showed the federal government in 2019 bought more than $600 billion in goods and services. And so that's 2019.
Okay.
And
So
also, Congress, just talking about one of the 15 departments of the executive branch, the Department of Defense, Congress for 2022 has given the Department of Defense more money than any time in its history. So the budgets are just increasing every year.
Yeah. So I probably need to update all the numbers on here in my spare time. Okay, thanks, Harry. Yeah, and the thing about the government is that their checks never bounce and they are open to any business. And so that, that's what you have to keep your eye on is who's your competition. But, the reason for this slide is to see who are the regional buyers. So the US Navy is, the gorilla in the room on Western Washington. Joint Base Lewis McChord, Housing and Urban Development, the Veterans Administration, the US Forest Service, the Small Business Administration, Defense Logistics, Army Corps of Engineers, General Services Administration, and US Department of Transportation. And that's just a few. There's many, many more. So, if you, let's say that you're a teacher or a trainer, something for you to remember are like guys like the Small Business Administration. They used to have employees that did all of this training, and now it is allocated to contractors. A small business wants to learn about, access to capital or cash flow projections or employee rights. Anyway, now they're using contractors to come in and teach a number of those classes. So here he is, Uncle Sam. SAM.gov, and the emphasis here is on .gov. There are so many scams out there. If you just Google SAM.gov, you're going to get a whole bunch of ads up at the top that are going to go to uscontractingresources.com or, all of these other things. 99% of them are coming out of Florida, and 100% of those are, dare I say it, thieves. They charge a hideous amount of money to do what you and I can do. I as PTAC, Terry as PTAC, Jim as Washington PTAC also. We will help get you through this process at no charge. And what I love is I do have my own small business, and it is registered in SAM. And lately I've been getting a lot of telephone calls telling me that my SAM registration is about to expire and that they can help me renew it. And odds are they only want, I don't know, $2,000 to renew my SAM. And I can go in and renew it myself in about, 25 minutes. So you just have to be aware and always look for the .gov. SAM has really changed over the last 6 years a lot. And now it has integrated the contract opportunities, which used to be FBO.gov, and the entity registration, which was always SAM. Before that, it was called CCR. And to give you an indication of how old I am, when I saw the CCR abbreviation, all I could think of was Clearwater Revival. But anyway, it was the contractor certification resource or something like that. Anyway, and that's all in SAM. And then the Federal Procurement Data System, the FPDS.NG, is now available on SAM. However, some of us old timers go directly to fpds.gov to get the data that we want. And there's a lot of data there. Okay, so Federal Business Opportunities is a search agent that you can go in and drill down and find, specific opportunities based on your NAICS codes or locations, or you're looking to be a subcontractor for a big prime contractor. Now you have to go into sam.gov. Another way to find these opportunities is through Washington PTAC. Well, all the PTACs, or most of the PTACs, have this bid match program, and it searches Fed, state, county, city, and US opportunities by keywords. And then they send a daily email list to you of the opportunities. That way you don't have to drill down every day looking in all these different places. Yeah, because if you're thinking about doing the state of Washington, but maybe if there was a small federal project in your area, now you're looking in a couple different places. So we provide a 30-day free trial, and then after that it's $165 a year. And it includes 41 federal sites and 40 international sites and almost 2,000 state and local sites. So it's been a real good resource for our small businesses. Okay. So market strategy starts with market research. So you can see what they are thinking about buying in the future. In under GSA, they have their own link for forecast of contracting opportunities. The US Treasury has their link on there also. And then Kitsap has these business programs and incentives. So hang on to this. And then, as we get into other areas, be open to subcontracts. And do they take a credit card? What about GSA schedules and master contracts? Let's talk about emergency purchases and the Defense Supply Center. So those of us in the state of Washington have seen a lot of emergency purchases in regards to wildfires. Some of you may know, some of you may not, that I actually am in Eastern Washington. And a few years back, well, it must have been about 2016, I think, there was a series of forest fires out of Snohomish County, on the foothills there or something. And, they had to garner as much support as they could. So they actually called in the local fire districts to come in and help fight fires. And so, they fought the fires without, thinking twice. And then after everything was done and quiet, the US Forest Service guys contacted them back and said, there is emergency funds for, what you did. And so all they had to do is get registered in SAM so that they could distribute the funding to them. But, there are exceptions during catastrophic times that, they cut through all the red tape just to, get the help that they need. Other websites, this first one up here is the Forest Service, and then the Defense Logistics Agency. And this is Unison Global, excuse me, and Dibs, another military, and SAM. And then I also put down here Oregon for some other opportunities down there. So on this page here, the Federal Purchase Data System, the FPDS, and this was assimilated into SAM.gov. But to be truthful with you, this fpds.gov link on the top is much easier to use than SAM. But who knows how long it'll be available. But if you want to just kind of get your feet wet on clicking to that one, that really has a lot of good information on it. Well, and one of the things I used to do in my in-person classes is we would click on that and we would look for like the big contractors in the area and just type in their name, and you can see all the contracts that they've had over the years, the dollar amount, the scope of work, everything on there. So if you're looking to be a subcontractor, this is a good way for you to see who has some experience being the prime contractor. And then the second one down here on the future agency forecast, this is acquisition.gov. And this will take you to the procurement forecast on them. And then the federal business opportunities, it was under feohome.sam.gov, or you can just do sam.gov/search. And then one of my other really favorite places is usaspending.gov. You can see how much money the Department of Interior paid out on federal contracts on the Olympic Peninsula. Or, you know, if you're looking down for the Department of Energy down in the Tri-Cities. Or, you know, maybe just the U.S. Forest Service office in Colville, Washington. You know, you can really drill down and get some specifics on agencies and recipients and dollar amounts and scope of work. Okay. And the last button down here is worth its weight in gold. This is a dynamic small business search. And this is now tied to sam.gov, but it is through the Small Business Administration. This is the contracting officers' one-stop shopping for all of the hub zone construction companies in a particular zip code, you know, because maybe they have a set aside, maybe you know, it's a hub zone set aside and they want to see who's there and, you know, if they're active. And then on the flip side of that, say you are in the construction industry and you want to see in your own county or zip code or city, you know, who's your competition. Let's say I'm a woman-owned, minority-owned, small business, and I have an office in downtown Spokane, which, oh, by the way, is also a hub zone. And I want to see who else is down there that does consulting. So, you know, this is a good way to see, you know, who they are. And one of the things, if you are registered in SAM, there's a button at the very end of SAM that opens up the SBA portal. And in there, you can walk through a lot of things. And one of the things that it asks for is your capability narrative. And when the contracting officers look at dsbs.sba.gov. What they're looking for is that capability narrative that you input, probably on SAM, that is pulled in there automatically. So it's a really good place to see who has their act together and who did not, because that little button to that portal, some small businesses just kind of skip it. They don't really know that it's a critical aspect of SAM. So we can help you with that also. All right, so now we want to look at the opportunities. And I'm gonna call Terry on the carpet here, because he's our expert on if it's under 25,000 or over 25,000. You know, how do you find out about these? Well, the under 25 is not advertised. How do you know that? You know, that there's an opportunity for 10 full-size kitchen refrigerators that comes to $24,000 that, you know, they want to buy. It's by keeping your ear to the ground and networking, and, you know, be it the agency or the military base, you know, who are the decision makers. And then if it's over 25,000, it is required to be publicly advertised. And the number one place is sam.gov. So with that, Terry, you have any updates on this?
Well, you covered all the aspects of it. For under $25,000, as you said, the company, our attendees, need to do their market research. Find out the agencies that buy their product. You covered a lot of the market research websites like USA Spending and whatnot, where they can find out what agencies have bought their products in the past, what companies have sold them if they want to be a subcontractor. But it takes some time and some market research to find the agencies that buy the products that you're selling when it's under $25,000. Every agency has a small purchase card holder, and typically for supply buys, anything that's under $10,000, the agency goes directly to their purchase card people, who can just contact any company or three companies to get a fair and reasonable price and place a purchase using their credit card, and they will pay for it with their Visa or MasterCard. Over $25,000, the federal acquisition regulations require every federal agency to post their announcement in sam.gov. And so you just go into sam.gov, into contract opportunities, put in your search string, like your NAICS code, and maybe you're looking for a certain socioeconomic certification set aside, like veteran-owned or woman-owned or HUBZone. And on the right-hand side, the solicitations will start popping up. And so that's how you can find them. And you can save your search string in sam.gov, and every time a solicitation is comes onto the contract opportunities, you'll get a notification. But if you're interested in more than just federal, like you want federal and state and counties and cities, whatnot, that's what Leslie was talking about, is PTAC's bid match is a great buy for $165 a year. It's over 1,600 websites, and you'll get a notice every day when there's a match with your application. Leslie?
Thanks, Terry. So that $165 a year is not a profit maker. This only covers the cost of running the program. So one of the constraints that we have as Washington PTAC is that, yeah, we don't really generate income. So it's just something that we live with. And so I see that Gillian had a question in regards to different types of entities. for education or mental health services. And I see that James responded to you about that. If you have any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So thanks, James, for following up with Gillian. All right,
Actually Jillian, but thank you.
Gillian.
Jillian.
All right. Okay, so now we're starting to move into another section on this. We're going to talk about this is kind of a summary of what we were talking about just now that Terry and I touched on. Micro purchases, 0 to 10,000. Anything between 10 and 25, it has to have 3 bids, and from 25 to 250,000 has to be advertised. And the simple acquisition threshold over 250 requires a competitive bid. So, generally those are the big construction or maybe Department of Energy type things, but just some good information for you to hang on to. So we did an update on if you're an 8A program, they raised the threshold to $7.5 million for manufacturing, 4.5 for other contracts, and subcontracting plans. Okay, what's a subcontracting plan? Okay, if you have a contract that was $699,000 previously, that means that you did not have to complete a subcontracting plan. Okay, so now they bumped that from $700,000 to $750,000. So if you make $749,999, you do not need a subcontracting plan. But if you do $1 over, you have to have a subcontracting plan. And that means that you have to have goals that X amount of your work will be accomplished by 8A, hub zone, woman-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned small businesses. And if it's in construction, it's still $1.5 million. So anything over 750 for regular contracts and anything over 1.5 million, you have to have a small business plan. And that's why all of these big contractors are looking for small businesses to help on their projects. The guys, the primes on Joint Base Lewis McChord, they cannot do all the work themselves. They have to have small businesses doing the work. And out on the Olympic Peninsula, Kiewit has the big contract for all the fish passages on the peninsula. And, the goal was to find local companies that, small businesses that could do the excavating or paving or, whatever, put in precast drainage for, that contract. And then the justification for sole source 8A is now $25 million. And Department of Defense applies $100 million threshold for those justifications. So if you're not 8A, you don't have to worry about this. But if you're small business, the one in the middle is the most important for you.
Let me clarify on that.
Yeah.
If you can go back to the previous slide.
Yeah.
On subcontracting plans, that only applies to large businesses.
Yeah.
Small businesses are exempt from that requirement. Only large businesses are required to have a subcontracting plan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Thanks, Terry. It's a good thing you're here. Okay. So, and then the threshold update on hub zones, and then the service disabled veteran-owned small businesses. And then the women-owned small businesses has increased. And this new woman-owned small business rule was effective on 10/15. I don't know if that was this year or last year. So I need to do a little more research on this slide here, but just a summary of how things are changing. Okay, now we are moving into how to get positioned. Okay, so it's all about relationships and, you know, who your audience is. And you have to understand that government contracts have different roles, or government contacts have different roles. And so I'll let Terry just talk a little bit about the different layers of contacts in an agency on acquiring a product or a service.
Yeah, so over my 3.5 years working with PTAC, the question that I keep hearing over and over again from clients is them wanting to contact the agency's contracting officer or the contract specialist or the program manager or the project manager. That is not the person that you as a contractor want to get in touch with. Every federal agency by law must have a small business liaison officer. That is your advocate to that agency. Their whole purpose is to work with small businesses, not nonprofits, not large business, only small businesses, to help them get government contracts. So for every agency that you're interested in doing business with, you want to reach out to their small business specialist. They are going to ask you for, if there's meeting of the minds between them, their agency, and you as to what you can sell, and they're interested in your product or service. At the end of that conversation, or sometime during the conversation, they are going to ask you for your capability statement. So you want to make sure that you've got a capability statement. It's in good final form to give them. Also, large businesses are going to ask you for your capability statement also. So it's not just for federal agencies, but it's for large businesses too. Like Leslie said, when they get a contract from a federal agency, the agency's small business goals are in their contract, and they must, if they're going to subcontract, they must strive to meet those small business goals, to award contracts to women-owned small businesses, veterans, veteran-owned small businesses, hub zones, 8A companies, and whatnot. So it's important to get those certifications because it's going to be very useful for not only the federal agencies, but for the federal agencies' large contractors also. So you want to be in communication with the agency's small business liaison officer. Every agency can call them something different, but they all do the same thing. They are your advocate. That's who you want to communicate with. Leslie?
All right. Thanks, Terry. All right. So how are you going to get noticed? And it's all about your professional presentation, be it email, your website, you know, how you dress at an event. And so key things are know the specific niche. You know, if I'm going into a construction conference, I think it's okay if I just wear jeans and a blazer or a vest or something. You know, if I'm meeting with, I don't know, the Department of Health, maybe a little more formal, but the thing is, you know, you can't be all things to all entities. So you have to know your strengths and, you know, how it works best for you, and lead with expertise and be able to prove your abilities. What is your capacity for doing this? I've been running, 100 widgets a month, and I think I could bump it up. And then I apply, I submit a bid for a contract that's 100,000 widgets a month. Do I really have the capacity to do that? I don't know. But you have to understand that. And on this slide, the most important thing here is mitigate risk. And I know that the reason for that is because contracting officers do not want to take a risk with you, period. Okay, so one of our favorite entities to work with is NAVSEA. And, they talk about ability to manage, your technical ability and capacity. And I'm not going to read this whole thing for you because you have it right in front of you, but if you have the potential capability, you can see that first paragraph up there. It greatly improves small business chances to be found capable. So a capability statement, your capacity, you notice there's a trend here on the wording. And, they're really looking to make sure that you can do exactly what they need you to do. All right. So where are you going to get noticed? In-person conferences, outreach, agency and base events. Army Corps of Engineers does a whale of a job with their industry days, and JBLM, Fairchild Air Force Base. Fairchild was at the Spokane event this week, and it's always amazing, to have such a strong presence at an event like that. Matchmaking events and associations and social events. So let's talk about matchmaking events. Washington PTAC hosts the Alliance Northwest event every spring, and I believe it's in March of 2023. I don't know the exact date, but and that event, historically, we had exhibitor booths, we had keynote speakers and educational programs, for the small businesses. And we had matchmaking events where we would set aside, we'd have tables set aside for like Army Corps of Engineers or JBLM or the Department of Energy or some of the big primes like Skanska or Kiewit or McKinstry, and they would meet one-on-one with the small businesses. So that's really a great opportunity for you to promote yourself. And this gives you enough lead time to get all your marketing materials together, your capability statement, your email, blogs, social media, and all of that in line ahead of the event. And then get a referral from the decision makers. Let's say that your kid plays soccer with somebody within the ranks of the let's say Fairchild Air Force Base, and you're talking to them about all these projects that you're working on, and come to find out that this person is a business opportunity specialist within whatever entity they're in, and it kind of gets their attention. So you just never know who's sitting on the other side. Okay, that's wrong way. All right, so, and this is exactly what Terry was talking about. So identifying the real decision makers, and it's not top down. And there's at least 3 layers of who's going to make the final decisions on this. Years and years ago, there was a small business in Spokane that had a really great invention, and they had an opportunity to show this to a crew chief out at Fairchild Air Force Base. And it was a real game changer for the crew chief and all the maintenance guys on the aircraft out there. That was when they had the B-52s out there. And anyway, he got a notice that they would be interested in acquiring one of these. And so they installed their product out at Fairchild Air Force Base, and it made a huge difference. It had to do with defueling the planes, and it made life easier. It was more environmentally friendly. And the crew chief was reassigned to another base somewhere, and they ordered that from this same little business in Spokane. And when I retired the first time back in 2015, that small business had at least one of their products on every military installation that has aircraft across the globe. So you just never know, what opportunities there are for you. Okay, and this is kind of what Terry was talking about, the program managers, contracting officers, and then the small business representatives. And then, so the 1 second to the bottom, small businesses, 23%. These are the set aside goals for all federal contracts. And but the Department of Transportation has some new goals. And Andrew, do you have those right off the top of your head, what the new goals are for the Department of Transportation?
No, they're mostly within standard SBA guidelines. The outlier is the focus on DBE communities. We're at over 20% on DBE for all of our solicitations, and they're actually soft marking it at 40%, but our target is officially 10 for DBEs, which
Okay.
if you're not familiar with the Department of Transportation, a DBE is an 8A, but not quite.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, and if you are 8A, doesn't mean that you're DBE either. So, for clarification on these, just talk to your local PTAC and we'll walk you through it. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, so how do you reach out to these entities? If it's the OSDBU, that the message is you're a credible vendor, and you provide a capability statement. Contracting officer, you're a credible bidder. You may have an entry email and a capability statement and also a PowerPoint, and we'll talk about that later. But and program manager, that you're an expert, and then the crew chief, that you can help. And then these are just kind of guidelines, they're not cut in stone, but and if you have a chance to talk to Terry, he can give you the scoop on the Navy guys. So, all right. So what are you? A prime contractor, a subcontractor, or a teaming partner? The prime contractor has a lot of paperwork in addition to doing the project. The subcontractor can do the, parts of the project and have to be in compliance with the paperwork, but the reporting mechanism goes back to the prime contractor. And are you a teaming partner or a joint venture? This is where it gets a little bit confusing. And, if you're a service-disabled veteran-owned small business in the construction industry, and there's a set aside from the Veterans Administration on a project only to the SDVOSB, and one of the big primes would like to be involved in it, like Kiewit or Skanska, they may team with you in a joint venture, which is a legal entity for the term of this project. But, we can get into more definitions down the road, but mostly I just did this slide because I like the German Shepherd. So. Okay, so if you want to mitigate risk, you need a strong niche statement. Yeah, I'm a good construction company. Well, what's your niche? Well, maybe it's medical offices. Okay. And, do you have a 20-second matchmaking pitch? Have a capability statement. List your past performance. Are you financially stable? Do you have the capacity? Do you have other partners or other subs that will help, get a project done for you? And do you have the ability to develop a strong RFP response? And always do a debriefing. Some agencies have a 3-day window from the award date that you have to request for a debriefing. Why didn't I win this contract? And they'll tell you. They won't tell you if you forgot to sign the bid, because that just goes into the trash without them even looking any further. But they may tell you that maybe your past performance was not adequate enough, or you didn't have the financial background for this project. Okay, so you have to figure out the opportunity identifier. Your past work, your present work, or your future. Are you growing? And did you just bring on a really key individual to help propel your company? Your capability statement, and this is one page, but it's front and back, that you have to have the core competencies, past performance, differentiators, company data, and then you have to make a bid or no bid process on this. And then you also have to look at the contract vehicle. Is it a GSA schedule or IDIQ or a GWAC, GWAC? And what about the CRM system, customer or contact relationship management program? Do you have, not only the technical ability, internal, IT things, do you have the ability to, find the decision maker and move forward? Okay. All right, so now we are going to get into the capability statements. So, and you look, okay, so it's like 9:30, and the capability statement section I can run for half a day or all day class. So we're just gonna kind of go over it pretty quick. So, you know, your capability statements are going to, you know, be something that agencies get, and, you know, you have to be registered in the government, and this is federal. Your business card, you know, matchmaking pitches, you know, it's your elevator pitch. And your capability statement is something that you want to be able to edit, or you may have different iterations of your capability statement. So if you're landscape and construction, you might have one for each side. Develop a website that includes a government focus, be it a special tab, or maybe it's a special website that you do just for the government side. You know, the contract vehicle, you know, how are they buying this? You know, is it purchase order? Is it a purchase card? Is it bidding? You know, what is it? Look at the white papers, you know, look at the case studies, understand the public relations on doing something like this, have your CRM system up and operational, and advertising. Okay, so your business card, use both sides, don't use coded paper, company name, your name and title, all the contact information, and what do? You know, if it's Miller Company, maybe you don't know that Miller is actually a contract, you know, a general contractor, or maybe a consultant. And then the next thing is to put your UEI, your unique entity identification number, on your business card and everything else, not your DUNS number. And at that event on Tuesday, I saw a lot of capability statements that had their DUNS number on it. And yeah, so if I had a chance to talk to any of the small businesses, you know, I recommended to them that they make some changes to their cards. So, you know, just so that everybody kind of knows what's going on with that. And then include your NAICS code. And if you're running out of space, put your primary NAICS code on there. And if you have any certifications, your service disabled vet or woman owned or HubZone, whatever it is. And then contract vehicles, you know, if you accept credit cards, etc. Oops, sorry, go back. So let's talk about your matchmaking pitch. So it has to be focused, and you can't say that you do everything. So this is an example of the reverse pyramid matchmaking pitch. We provide emergency transport for firefighters, you know, smoke jumpers. Our core competencies are talented individuals, financial maturity, et cetera, we're absolute best at, we are different because of, or we can help your agency or office by, and then you just fill in the blanks. You can also do the email introductions in your subject line. You know, you might put something like Miller Company overview or something, and then include a compelling reason, you know, list financial, you know, safety, regulatory compliance, make it a real clear request and then open the door for future contract. And I see that Andrew raised his hand. Andrew.
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing a trend on amongst the business types, but not necessarily the government types, is QR codes on all of their signature lines and emails on their business cards and their capability statements. Are the feds responding to that in any way? Is that moving into that level, or should those be kept off of documents for the feds?
Well, that's a good question. Terry, have you heard anything on that?
I have not. I don't know if it's a cybersecurity issue. We are not suggesting QR codes go on capability statements.
Okay.
I was at a workshop yesterday for Congressman Adams over in Tukwila. Very well run. A lot of agencies were there. There's probably about 40 companies that attended. And one of the agencies, I believe it was the Army Corps of Engineers, had a presentation, and they had a QR code on their on one of their slides. None of the other agencies had that. So that's a very good question. I don't know the answer. I suspect the agencies, I don't know if they're using QR codes or not.
Okay. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Andrew, for your question. Okay, so moving forward. Gloria Larkin has done a lot of education and training of PTACs at the national level. And so we have permission to use, some of her materials. One of the things is never say introduce. I'd like to introduce you to my company. It'd be more like, I'd like to tell you about my company. And then this middle one is add this to every email. In the event you don't have an opportunity to respond sooner, I will contact you to follow up on such and such date and time. And then include personal contact and credentials. It's surprising to me on some emails that, with some agencies that they don't have like all their contact information at the bottom. And that kind of surprises me because we want to make sure that you know how to get hold of us. So, all right. So I put on here a couple of real websites that you're welcome to click through. I'm not going to open them up. Pinnacle Investigations was one of my clients when I was in Spokane, and Eclipse Printing, I just liked their website. It was nice. But in Pinnacle Investigations, if I was the local PTAC servicing them again, I would let them know that they need to update their government contractor page to reflect their UEI number and to eliminate the DUNS number that they have listed there. All right, oops, oh sure, then I clicked through, sorry guys. All right, okay, so, and you need to have a website. So make sure you have a tab or a button, use the government verbiage terminology, include some case studies, and be as specific as possible regarding customer benefits. And that includes metrics. And add the differentiators in there. Do not use music or videos, industry jargon, or hide personal contact information. Okay, let's talk about social media. So yesterday when I was pulling this together, I wanted to just get kind of a scope of where the government is. And you know what? They're all over the place. The one that surprised me the most was on TikTok, where the US government is on TikTok. But The one with the U.S. Interior, the beautiful picture of the Grand Tetons, that's on Instagram. And anyway, it just kind of gives you some ideas. The Department of Energy is actually on Pinterest. So, it's just, you can get a lot of insight as to what's going on by following them. And, off of your own company, your company, Facebook could be following the U.S. Department of Transportation or the U.S. Army or GSA, and and use it more as an input for you to know what's going on in these areas. So don't dismiss the fact that state agencies, I mean, they're all on here now. It's just a matter for you to find what fits best for you. And like down here at the bottom, the Port of Seattle, they have a YouTube channel. And I'm seeing who else does. GSA does too. So anyway, just be alert to the opportunities that you will find on social media. And, it's not all fun and games, but it's not, they make it really kind of attractive to look at and, to be educated and informed as to what's going on within these agencies. So if you are going to be doing social media marketing, you want to target agencies, primes, and teaming partners. So the highlight of my professional career was back in the early days on Twitter. I have a Twitter account, and I followed, all the government agencies in there, and I followed the Pacific Fleet and the Army and Department of Interior and everybody else. And I was blown away when the Pacific Fleet decided to follow me. So that was kind of an exciting revelation to me. The thing is, you have to keep, everything active, and, you can incorporate a blog. LinkedIn is a very good site for doing business. And the government is a little bit into LinkedIn, but not as heavy as they are in all the others. Facebook, it's a good place to highlight your employees, special projects that you're doing. And, if you have great graphics, Pinterest or Instagram are good places for the graphics. And okay, so let's talk about the white papers. And this goes both ways. So if you are doing business with the Department of Energy, and PNNL has a white paper on upcoming things that are going on, you need to read and learn about what's going on. And then conversely, if you're like a cutting edge small business with technology or innovation in it, you do your own white papers, and this is something that you can promote to other agencies or do a presentation, like a workshop or something, and invite some of these agencies to come and listen to you. News releases, these are not typical press releases. You do target them to government contacts. So if you won a new contract or you completed a big project, you hired this outstanding superintendent on your big construction projects, These are the kinds of things that the government contacts would like to know about. You know, if you have already been in their line of sight and they know who you are, you know, they like seeing things like this to know that, you know, your company is flourishing and doing well. Okay, so in here, yeah, this is a little bit more about, you know, how they purchase things, how things are done. And we have the General Services Administration on here, and all about GSA schedules. And then again, the Department of Enterprise Services for Washington State. And some definitions for you. IDIQ, credit card is also known as a P card or a purchase card. GSA schedules, GWACs, government-wide acquisition contract, BPA. And, you know, the alphabet soup can bring you to your knees, but after a while, they kind of get to be second nature. So just, you know, some things to keep your eye out for. All right, so now you need to have your capability statement, and it will definitely open doors for you. And if there's a sources sought or a RFI response, it can be requested as part of your submittal. And it is required in an RFP. And I don't know if there's anything other than that. If, you know, Terry has anything to add to that, just pop in and we'll listen to it. So with that, there are 5 elements needed on a capability statement. First of all, you know, the government just doesn't want it to be a regular marketing brochure. It has to have core competencies, past performance, differentiators, and company data. So this is a nice one, and it's a SDVOSB, Service Disabled Small Business. Okay, so I have a bunch of samples here. Capability statement's also called a line card. Depends on who you're talking to. So, you know, learn the differences in, you know, if it's a small agency or a large agency, you know, if it's a small town compared to the federal government, just be alert to what they're looking at. Okay. So let's talk about the NAICS codes and reps and certs on your statement. The NAICS code, you know, if you are a jack of all trades and you're submitting a bid for building a bridge, you know, I would streamline my capability statement to concentrate just on the bridge building aspect of my company. And that includes, you know, the NAICS code, you know, the general construction NAICS code, but, you know, if it's excavating or, you know, electrical or whatever it is, you just have to make sure that it targets the audience that you're sending this to. And your badges are their certifications, woman-owned, veteran-owned, minority-owned, hub zone, DBEs, you know, whatever the nomenclature is on your certification. If you have past government experience, if you don't have past government experience, you can show related experience and then other credentials and training. And yeah, it's your elevator speech. So yeah, you need to fine tune it until it's just perfect. And PTACs are open to reviewing your capability statement. and guiding you through, some necessary changes, if you're trying to develop one. So we can help you with that. So I have some samples here, and I know that both of these look really pretty good. There's a little bit of white space, there's some pictures, things are sectioned out, competencies, past performance, differentiators, snapshot, NAICS and PSCs, and the same thing with the second one over here. The big problem with both of these is on past performance. Both of them are using government logos, and you are not allowed to do that unless you have specific permission. When we were doing a workshop for the Port of Seattle, and the SBA was part of the presentations, and I wanted to use their logo, I had to go through some hoops in order to get that on our website. So keep that in mind. This one is it's probably like middle of the road. The color is distracting and it's hard to read, not just because it's small, but the orange print or the yellow print makes it hard to focus on, particularly if you're not 25 years old, it makes it kind of hard to read. Okay, so the formatting is, call it a capability statement, make it one page, double-sided. And this is important. You have 8 seconds to capture their attention. So it has to be appealing, include your logo, and break it down and address it to the client that you're sending it to. All right, so this is a little yes or no. Can you use government logos? No. Can you use your certified veteran enterprise logo? Yes. Can you name contacts for government contracts? Well, depends on if you have permission or not. Use both sides of the paper? Yes. Any size paper will work? No. They do not want a tri-folded piece of paper that they have to open up in order to read it. It's just a letter size, front and back. Use QR codes. Okay, we just had this discussion. So I think that may be an evolution coming down the road, but I wouldn't necessarily do that until you get permission. If you're doing the Army and the Army says okay, then do it on Army stuff. Whoops, sorry. And then do the photos. And this is a big one. Emails such as Hotmail, Gmail, Comcast. Okay, this says are fine, but they're not fine. Scratch that. Let me get an annotator out here. They are not fine. Do not use those because military emails will not accept those. So your company should have your own domain name, and you should have your own dedicated email. And it starts before you register in SAM. So if you need some guidance on that, give us a call. They like bullets and use words like on time and best. The answer is no on that. Everybody's on time and everybody's the best, so don't put that in there. Fax numbers. The federal government is the only institution other than medical that uses faxes anymore. So yeah, you need a fax number. Year in business or years established. That's yes and no. If it takes up space that can be used for something else, then the answer is no. But you just have to be aware of it. All right, so based on color, yeah, match your logo and no solid colored pages. So don't have a lime green background with black ink on it, but this is just a nice reference on here. Oh, good. And my little annotation is still there, so I don't know. Erase it. Okay. All right. All right. So anyway, these give you some ideas on the color. Fonts, pay attention to what looks good and you know what looks bad. So maintain your borders and use 2 different styles like italic or bold, you know, to cut the monotony. Customizing business background, opening statement. Anyway, these are just how to do your capability statement. So the finishing touches, you know, get it professionally done and, you know, read through these. It gives you some real simple guidance on the actual wording of your capability statement. And make sure it's consistent. Your website, your business cards, your capability statement, and ensure that the points of contact are your key business individuals. However, if your CEO is your key business individual and he's never in the office, then he should not be the contact on there. Okay, unless you're a service provider, don't sell the jockey, sell the horse. So bottom line. These are your audiences, agencies, prime contractors, teaming partners, joint ventures. You know, pay attention to who you're focusing on. And you use a capability statement as a door opener to build relationships, email introductions, conferences, industry days, service updates, and in-person briefings. So when they may ask you for a printed handout, and these are what you need on there, but they may also give you a 30-minute briefing. And the last I heard, 30 minutes, 6 slides, and 5 minutes per slide. So keep that in mind if you have to do a presentation. So we're winding it up. We are Washington PTAC and we're all over the state. And, you know, reach out to any one of us and, you know, we can give you a hand. So we'll open this up for a couple questions and we'll see. Andrew, do you see any questions in there that I need to address?
No, chat's actually been kind of calm. We've pretty much cleared up everything as far as I can tell.
Okay, well, here's my contact information. And if you guys are up in the Kitsap area, you know, you can call me or email me and I'll direct it to Terry or Mary Jo or Jim, or sometimes I can take care of this myself if you have some specific questions. But it's been a pleasure having you here today. And if you need any additional resources, I'm just a phone call away. So with that, oh, and James had put his email in there, and actually I'm gonna put mine in here again. Oops.
So while Leslie's doing that, just a reminder on capability statements. For example, if you have a company that has more than one division, you want to do a capability statement for each division. And if your target markets are not only federal, but state and county and private industry, commercial, you want to have a different capability statement for each one of those because the content is different because you're targeting the information to the state or to the federal or to the commercial. So you're going to have multiple capability statements.
Okay, well, thanks, Terry, and thanks everyone for showing up today. I'm sorry about the little hiccup on the Zoom meeting, but I'm glad that you were all able to attend, and we look forward to working with you down the road. So with that, thank you so much, and we'll see you at the next event.